Okay, we're getting on to the exciting part of the day, the Scottish AGM. So without further ado, I'll just get stuck in, and we'll start with some of the agenda, just so you know what we're going through here. This is a picture of Burg at sunset, by the way, when we used to be able to get out and enjoy such things. Hopefully we will again shortly. So we're just going to very quickly go through the minutes, then we'll go through nominations, re-elections, and then we'll get on to what's arguably more interesting bit, just the updates and what the committee's been up to this year, and also plans for the coming year, because obviously we're all interested and desperate to get out. So I'm just going to update you on things there. And there'll be some, also particularly the field meetings too. And then there'll be some room for questions at the end. So I shall fire away first. These were sent out, agenda minutes were sent out. They're on the microsite, the web page. And if anybody's had a quick read of them, I'll just leave them up on the screen for a very short while, so you can have a scan. Nothing particularly controversial. It's just basically last year's AGM minutes, who got elected, who retired, and the updates on the newsletter and the like. However, as with these things, with constitutional matters, we do need people to propose acceptance of these minutes and also to second them. So with the joys of online tech and so on and so forth, also we can't have loads of screens with people raising hands. But what I would ask, if somebody's okay, going into the question and answer button, and just at the bottom right hand, you'll see a little thing that says raise hand. So if anybody is happy to accept these minutes on behalf of the committee, if they could click that button, that would be brilliant. And then I'll move on to the next question of seconding these, assuming everybody's happy and nobody's got any problems with it. Jim, are you keeping an eye on that, or do you want me to have a
yes, we've got loads of people happy with that.
Great. And we've got loads of people seconding it as well?
Yeah.
Great. Well, with that, we'll move on. Thanks very much for that. Let me just skip on. So this is the current BSBI Committee for Scotland at the moment. Myself as chair, we have a vacant vice chair, partly because I've done that role myself in the past, so you don't really do much. And I think it's just whenever anybody can cover, although we may well fill it at some point. However, we've got two members retiring this year. Aileen Meek, who's been doing a lot in the field meetings, and Natalie, who you met earlier, who was doing the photographic exhibition. And I'd just like to say a big thank you to both of them for all the brilliant work they've been doing over the years. And we may well see them back again in the committee in the future if they wish. So just a very big thank you to both Aileen and Natalie for the work. It's been really much appreciated. You'll also note at the bottom we've got representatives, and the BSBI committees very lucky actually to have a number of organisations sit in on the meetings and contribute too. I think that's one of the strengths of the committee, to be honest with you. I say that as an ex-person, ex-rep myself, and it was always incredibly useful to have that communication there. So just a big thank you. Obviously Jim sits in it as well, regularly contributes. Ian MacDonald, Sarah Smythe too, from I have to get used to calling them Nature Scott. I still use SNH, but there again I still say Forestry Commission, so I haven't really moved on too far. And Alistair White from Plant Life, who very much do a lot of campaigning work for plant conservation, and also National Trust for Scotland, Dan Watson, who's talking St Kilda we all watched enviously yesterday. So now we need to go on to re-elections as well as nominations. So this is where hopefully a little box is going to pop up shortly. We've got nominations for re-elections, and we're allowed to put the two together. And that's Liz Congu, who's also the Botanical Society of Scotland rep, and Alan Walker, who very kindly they'd be happy to be re-elected. So I proposed it, and it's been seconded by David Elston on the committee. But I need you guys to approve these re-elections. So I'm hoping a little box is going to pop up in a minute to allow you to do that. Here we go. So if you just press yes, or I guess no, if there's something there which you know that we don't, but hopefully everybody's a yes. So if you just click on the button with submit, and we'll move on hopefully quickly from that one.
We've had 53 people voting, so that's probably enough, and they're all unanimous yes.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tom, for that. Right, we'll go on to the nominations. We've got two members coming on. One's Andrew Rowley, who was co-opted to the committee last year. He was one of our young people engagers. I'll come on to that again, and that horrible expression which we still haven't got a substitute for. And Matt Parrott, who many of you will know, and also we're listening to his Conifer ID workshop yesterday. So I'd like to, Liz Lavery's proposed them, and I've seconded them for becoming new committee members. And again, hopefully a little box will pop up in a minute and seek your approval of these nominations. If you can do that, thank you. And Tom, if you can tell us when we've heard enough, that'd be brilliant.
Yes, we've had loads, 49 yeses, and so it's unanimous, and so that's fine.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. Right, so on to the chair's report. As I say, I'm the new chair. I would like to have stood in front of you to give this report, but I can't. So in some ways, this is a first for BSBI as well, the first Scottish chair report online. So fingers crossed it's the last, but we never know. So anyway, firing away, I'm just going to go through a few things with you. Good news and not so good, but we'll pass. Thinking about this, I thought if years could be compared to vegetation, I just thought 2020 has been a bit like walking across a whole pile of Millennia grassland, Millennia purple moor grass. And if anyone's ever had the pleasure of that, it's just, you trip up, it's depressing, you think you're at the end of it, and there's another big wodge of it in front of you, particularly talking Southern Uplands here to a degree in areas. And you just wish you could get onto nicer grasslands and happier places to botanise. However, there's always things of interest in a Millennia bit of vegetation, so hopefully we won't have another 2020. So obviously COVID, or as I started off calling it, Corvid. It took me about a month to get away from this Corvid 1919. I think I've been doing some bird stuff, it just wouldn't go out of my head. It's also had an impact, and we've heard all about it. We had no formal field meetings this year. We had no formal field training this year. The summer meeting we were really looking forward to as well, got the axe, and obviously we've had this conference has been brilliant. Actually, I must admit I really enjoyed it, but we all like to meet up with old and new friends as well. That's the downside, but obviously there's always upsides. So for example, there was lots of data digitization, validation and uploading going on, particularly at the beginning of the year for 2020, and people were probably taking a rest from that anyway at the end. There was also lots of opportunities for us all to get out and explore the local area, and I was doing that myself. And I called it Zoom because we just seemed to do it quite a lot, didn't we? It seems to be the new way of doing things. And the committee was involved discussing the new BSBI strategy, which Steve Gator was talking about, and governance plans. And we had a few committee meetings to see how we could keep things going. And also the council and BSBI voted itself to end as part of the big restructuring. So however, you can still go to Summerfield Books in an online capacity and spend some money there. I'll be hoping to do that later on. BSBI and BSBI Committee Scotland don't traditionally, we're not a campaigning organisation as such, so it often does come up at committee meetings of when should we enter into discussions and considerations of things that matter. And we have on a couple of occasions recently. You've heard all about cool links already, so I won't go over that again, other than say that the BSBI committee did express its concerns and over that one. The other one which we did get involved with was the much publicised restructuring of National Trust for Scotland that kicked off very early on in COVID, and where they were talking about a mass staff redundancy, particularly hitting the countryside, ranger and ecological teams in NTS. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with National Trust for Scotland, they own some of the best botanical sites in Scotland, everything from Mar Lodge, Ben Lawers, which you'll see in the exhibits there, Sarah's Day Out, which I thought was lovely, through to Glencoe, Greymare's Tail, Iona. I could go on, and the major concern there was because they do a lot of survey and monitoring work, as well as conservation work, that would be severely impacted by these restructurings, which we felt were over too much, being blunt. So we did write a letter, and thankfully, with the Scottish Government getting involved as well, there was a bit of a review there, and some of the key posts were saved. However, and very sadly, a lot of good people have been made redundant recently, and we do watch with concern over what's going to happen on those properties in the future. And I would recommend all members keep an eye on that one as well, and express any concerns they do there. But as I say, we're not a political campaigning organisation, but we are a partner, and we did wish to express our concerns on that one, which we duly did. We're doing outreach activity. That's one of our strengths. We've got an outreach committee who do a lot of brilliant work. And this year, we had engagement with our younger audience. If anyone can come up with a decent term how to call the younger audience, I passed it by my kids as well. Young people, young persons. I don't know. And it was up to about 30 years old. So, you know, people about that age don't necessarily consider themselves so young. And we co-opted two brilliant folk, Jay and Andrew, who's going to be on the committee. Jay's having to finish her MSc this year, so wasn't able to do it. And they put together some brilliant proposals, everything from mentoring for the younger people to get into botany more easily and have the confidence to self-learn, and to mixing horticultural students with students from university. And then Andrew as well, who's been working on, for example, creating an introduction video to show to students and others, telling about BSBI, and that's a work in progress at the moment. So more work becoming that. It was a bit stymied by COVID because we had lots of plans for interaction, and obviously universities have got a lot of online training at the moment. The other thing is working on a new beginner's guide, starting to identify composite flowers. That is brilliantly needed, particularly, I say, for beginners, but sometimes for all of us. And she hopes that'll be out in 2020, and that's in the back of her other really useful books in grasses, sedges, and plant families. So that's great too. So watch this space. And then Aileen as well is working on a webinar on plant families. Now, for those in the audience are doing training or thinking about it, one of the good ways to get into plant ideas, starting off with the families rather than jumping straight in with species. I would certainly say that's a good way. So watch this space. Going into county recording news now on the agenda. I think start with very sad news, and I start with sad death of George Ballantyne, who was the county recorder for Fife and Kinross, and in the last few years he was also joined with Sandy, and he was both of them pictured at conference. George on the right. A full obituary will be appearing in BSBI News, but I thought it'd be nice just to cover some of the things, because George was very interested in life. Sandy passed me his obituary, and he was a VCR for 51 years. That's incredible. I think he's one of the longest serving. On top of that, he was an expert in brambles, and I was unaware of this, but if you're an expert in brambles, you're a batologist. So George was an eminent batologist. He was a tank driver. He was a librarian. He was a keen rugby player. He refereed rugby. He was a loyal Fifer from Kirkcaldy. Wrote a number of very important publications in Fife on the flora as well as the wildlife, and I know he was working on one for the whole of Fife, a register when sadly ill health stopped him completing it, and I think the plan is to finish that as well. So thoughts go to his family, his wife Aileen, and his sons Keith and Lindsay, and their children and grandchildren. Quite a guy. Other news, special thanks go to some of the county recorders that are retiring from the post after many years. Alan Silverside, who retired from Wigtonshire after 42 years. Pam Murdoch and Carol Farmer have also retired after tidying up and getting their Atlas 2020 stuff done. So great stuff there. And Barbara Sumner, who's planning to retire at the end of 2020. Very big thank you to all of them for all the work they've done over the years, and hopefully they'll still be contributing in their own way with the work we do. I'm sure they will. Further updates, just to do that, Michael Jeeves has started as a new Wigtonshire county recorder this summer. He was in that position down in Leicestershire before moving up to Newton Stewart, which is a lovely part of the world. And Michael, if you're listening, if you can keep an eye on Venny Hill, that'd be brilliant. I used to monitor it there, and I'd be very curious to know how the grassland's doing. I don't know if grazing animals are still there. Anyway, and that's an aside. Andy Amphlett is retiring from Bamshire, but he's moved to help Adam Fraser in East, I call it Inverness-shire, but it's East Inverness, I think, as well. However, that's leaving a vacancy, which I'll get on to in a minute. And Robin Cow, who's a very new VCR for Berwickshire, which is a lovely part of the world. But they're all lovely parts of the world, but particularly the coast I know well there. So we've got current vacancies for those who have mused about being a county recorder, or maybe are interested in doing it with somebody else. They haven't quite got the confidence to do it on their own yet, or maybe a kind of mentoring. We're open to applications, but essentially we've got current vacancies we're looking to fill. We've got Bamshire, Midlothian, Dumbartonshire, and Argyllshire, which is joint with Gordon Rotherham, who's also an expert biologist. So applications are welcome. If you're interested, get in contact with Jim. I've got his email there. It's also on the website as well. Please consider it. It's very rewarding work. And as I say, you don't need to do it on yourself. There may be two of you who might be interested in doing it together. So we're open to all of that if you want to. So moving on to the next agenda item, this is the Scottish newsletter. And another unique thing this year was the first time in 40 years there'd been no printed Scottish newsletter because of lockdown. However, the good news is it is online. And if you go into the exhibits part of the web page and go into the BSBI periodicals bit, you'll get more information about that. What I would say is we continue to hope and pray that things will get back to normal in 2021. And Angus, who is the editor of the newsletter and continues to do a fantastic job, I hasten to add, Angus, thank you for that. Open to contributions by the end of February 2021, please. And again, as I say, it's online too. Field meetings. Well, yes, where do we go with that? This is Tentsmuir. If Sandy's still online, you'll hopefully recognise this. This is a whole pile of NTS Rangers learning plant ID at the time. This was the second photo. The first photo actually had them all lying in the grass enjoying the sun when I said, guys, can you look like you're busy botanical ID? But it's a great place to ID. So anyway, field meetings. Well, what field meetings? Unfortunately, COVID got in the way of that. However, we're not giving up. I think Dean's been working hard in the backdrop with the others to come up with a programme, and I'm about to put that on the screen. It is a new year, and we all know we're subject to COVID, so who knows what happens? It changes from week to week. But let's just say we're going ahead in the coming year with the conditions which COVID might throw our way. So, for example, what's likely to happen? I'll just quickly check my notes so I don't forget here. Those who booked into the 2020 meetings this year get first refusal for the 2021. That seems fair enough to me. There will be bookings. For those that haven't, you can't just turn up because we're going to probably have number limits. And also some of the car parks can't deal with the undoubted increased number of cars we're going to have if folk can't car share. So watch this space is basically what I'm saying there. So there will be likely numbers limiting in numbers if things continue the way they do. But I don't have a crystal ball, and neither does anybody else in this one. And who knows, we might well be able to get out a lot more in 2021. Still open to offers and new field meetings, by the way, folks, if you want to come forth and tell us. In addition, the committee has continued to have further discussion in field meetings and also establishment of field groups as well. So if anybody wants to start up a field group, you'd be more than welcome to approach us and tell us about it. The next annual summer meeting is actually speaking to the others. It's actually planned in Scottish Borders. Apologies for those in Borders, put a small b for Borders there, in 2022. So we basically decided that it probably, being pragmatic, it wasn't likely to happen in 2021. So let's just accept that, and we'll hopefully try and get back to normal in 2022. So the proposed field meetings, here we are for a quick gander. We've got the on the first one's 30th of April. I sincerely hope we're out and able to get out and about by then, but we'll wait and see. 8th of May, Isle of Bute with Angus. 24th of June, Muir of Ord. 26th of June, 2nd July is Barra. Oh, that sounds fantastic at the moment. The 24th of July, Glen Shee. In fact, they all sound fantastic. And on the 25th of July, there should hopefully be some training up in Ben Lawers. It's come off my screen a wee bit, but there's also the Rough Crew, which is an informal group that like to go up mountains looking for those plants that hang off crags. We go down looking at those mountain flushes. Last year, was it the year before? It's great fun. It's good fun getting out and about to these remote places. And this is Ben Vorlick, the photo in the background. And hopefully you can hear me as I've got an internet connection unstable here. Jim, can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine, thanks.
Good, right. Great fun here, much to my surprise. There was quite a bit of russet sedge, which is one of my favourite ones, Carex saxatilis, which is a lovely shiny brown, beautiful sedge. And it's not every day you can use the word beautiful and sedge in the same sentence, but that applies to that one. So that's basically a roundup of everything. And before bringing this to a close and doing my thanks from the AGM, is there any other business or any questions on this report? Jim, have you been picking up on anything?
I'll just have a quick look at Q&A, see if anything has come in.
Whilst Jim's doing that, just sit back, look out, and you're working over to Egg and Muck there. The bees are buzzing, the butterflies are fluttering, and there's a hen harrier going past. We can dream.
That's a lovely photograph, Lindsay. Right, I've just checked. I've just checked Q&A, and I don't see any questions relating to the AGM. So thank you.
We can.
Hang
right.
on. Well, there's just a little informative email from David Welsh referring to George Ballantyne's work. So I think we could share that here. Following on from George Ballantyne's long and hard work refereeing Scottish brambles, David Welsh says that he and Angus Hannah have taken on the task. There will be a geographic split. Details will be in the next yearbook. David holds many Scottish specimens refereed by Alan Newton, and Angus has developed a group of keen bramble learners. So there's some interesting progress there.
Great. Jim, do you want to add something like that? Because I know George had some collection material. Do you wish to say anything on that here?
Yes, I'm working with his family, at least when lockdown allows, to make sure his botanical legacy is secured. So hopefully we'll get his great personal collection of rubi, of bramble specimens, shipped across to the Botanic Gardens and safely ensconced there. I believe that there are masses and masses of them, so that's not going to be a trivial task.
Okay, no, there is another question from Duncan Donald, which the audience might be interested in, saying, with Aileen Meek standing down, to whom should bids for 2021 field meetings be sent?
Good question. We haven't actually nominated a new field meeting secretary at the moment. Hopefully, I don't think Aileen would mind. Maybe she was okay for the next week or two accepting any emails. Aileen, I hope that's okay. I know you're out in the audience there. If maybe just pass it to Aileen at the moment for the next couple of weeks or so until we get organised, and then we'll give a shout to everybody as to who the new formal contact is going to be. Thanks very much, Aileen, for that. Was there any other questions or queries before we?
I'm just having a quick last look. Yeah. Aileen says yes, no problem. Yeah.
Thanks, Aileen. Cheers for that. Should have checked that one before, but thanks very much, Aileen. That's appreciated.
No, that's it.
Great. Okay, doke. thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I've just got to finalise with a big thanks to my fellow committee members and county recorders who've done a great job. All the BSBI staff, Jim included, Jane, Louise, and Tom and Ryan, everyone who's been involved. Thank you very much as well. Fellow BSBI committee and board members as well, and all volunteers who do so much work. BSBI, like many charitable organisations, very much depend on their volunteers, so that's fantastic. Also, a big thank you to Nature Scott for their continued financial support. It really is appreciated. It makes a lot of difference. And I'll just end by saying, here's to a better 2021. I hope I can give you an update in person next year. And I shall leave it at that and pass over to Julia for the next bit. Thank you. Thanks, folks.